Hello, good day. Here we are, moving right along. Now we're at the 6th Sunday of Easter. Coming up, May the 5th, May the 4th, May the 5th. In our first reading, towards the end of that, reading from the Acts of the Apostles, the message that they convey this message by word of mouth. This is the decision of the Holy Spirit and of us, not to place on you any burden beyond these necessities. And they go on to say the necessities. Notice, the decision is made by the Holy Spirit and by us, the assembly of the church assembly, of the church authorities. It's together with the Holy Spirit that they arrive at the decision. It's with the living presence of God in their midst. And they don't say, well, we have this book, and we looked up in this book, and there it said in this book such and such. But rather, the living presence of the Holy Spirit is dealing with the church assembly, the church authority. That same feeling, that same idea is continued in the gospel, which is from John chapter 14, 23 to 29. Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever loves me will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our dwelling with him." God dwells with us, lives with us, when we love him and keep his word, keep his will, do his will. To love God is to love his will and to be obedient to his will. We don't have affections for God and then go off and do whatever we want. No, that's false love of God. True love of God is when we love him and do his will. Those two necessarily go together. And then he goes on to say the same idea. Those who do not keep my words do not love me. I have told you this, continuing on in the gospel, while I am with you. The advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and remind you of all that I have told you. Once again, what Jesus has been preaching, what he has told his disciples, apostles, he will remind us of that. Now, the New Testament is not written, probably not written at this time, definitely not written at this time, but will be written later and will be a help. But it's really the central authority is God. The central authority, Jesus, Father, Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is sent to us. And he is active, teaching us everything. How important it is to have that sense of God is with us. The early church had that sense. The early church worked with the presence of God, active in their midst. And we likewise, with the Holy Spirit present, with God present, dwelling with us, teaching us everything. Then he goes on to make another point. Do not let your hearts be troubled or afraid. Well, if God is with us, if God is teaching us, we have no reason to be afraid. The power of God is in us. When we are afraid, and it does happen, it shows that we're lacking in faith. Happens to all of us. But we just have to go back and just tell the Holy Spirit, dear Holy Spirit, help me to live in your presence. In the second reading from Revelations, it paints a scene there of God present on the top of the mountain, the mighty and awesome presence of God with his people. Powerful presence. We should have a sense of that presence always. The awesome presence of God with us. That's what gives us peace. Because God, all-powerful God, is with us. When Jesus was here in this world, Jesus says, "Yet the word you hear is not mine, but that of the Father who sent me." Jesus in his humanity brings God's presence. Let God speak through him. Not Jesus, but God. The same thing is a model for us. God working through us, not ourselves, but the Lord working through us. We are always open to his will, always begging for his will to be present, and for the grace to let his will work through us. God bless you always as we progress through this wonderful time in which the life of Christ is manifest in each one of us individually and in his church.